Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, hosted by Bruce Hutchin, and episode number 150.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, where it is all about whitetail deer hunting tips, techniques, and the stories so you can become a more successful whitetail deer hunter. And now your host, Bruce Hutchin.
We're very fortunate today to have Jody Blackwelder join us on the show. Jody is the founder and owner of Gen7 Network. It's a multimedia tool that works with industry professionals to bring outdoor television to the web and business solutions to companies and outdoor programs. Gen7 Outdoors provides outdoor programs a location to air their program and to build their base. Gen7 Network brings media solutions with the outdoor industry professionals to the front door of companies, programs, and listeners. Jody's been hunting the same land since he was born. The family farm dates back to the 1700s and has been handed down from generation to generation. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and I'm heading down to North Carolina, and I'm going to talk with a mountain man from North Carolina, Jody Blackwelder, and Jody's the owner of Gen7 Outdoors, and Jody can be found at gen7outdoors.com, and it's a TV show and it's a multimedia solutions company. And Jody, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you having us on.
Well, in the warm-up, I was looking at Jody's picture. Ladies and gentlemen, if I was out hunting bear, I'd want Jody right behind me because I think he could scare a bear or two.
Yeah, you kind of got to get the whole wilderness look, so you can, when you get out there, they say, that guy, he's an outdoorsman,
Yeah. Well, let's start the show right off and tell our listeners all throughout North America just about Gen7 Outdoors, how they find you, and once they get to your page or your site, what they're going to see on your show.
All right. Well, what we do is Gen7 Outdoors is a streaming TV network. So what we have is a platform that, people who are starting a TV show or that has a TV show established, they can come and they can air with us. And we have scheduled programming that's a live feed. Plus, we have an on-demand side so people can go and watch. We have a channel on Roku, and we have everything on our website. And it's free for everybody who comes to the website to look at and watch. And, it's a really cool platform for people who are trying to come up in the industry. And it's also a neat platform for people in the industry to expand, the reach. And we got a pretty strong fan base and, just real excited about all what we have going on right now.
Now, what type of shows do you have? Is it all hunting shows, or does it have fishing or birding, or what's on the show?
Well, we have a pretty good mix right now. It's a little bit heavy on the hunting side right now, but we do have some new shows that are coming on in the third and fourth quarter of this year that are fishing. And then actually already booked some shows for 2017, first and second quarter that's fishing, but mostly it's hunting and variety outdoors where they have hunting, fishing, bird, just a general outdoor show. So we have a pretty good variety. Right now, first and second quarter, essentially just rolled out in January. We have about 15 shows that will be on in the first and second quarter. So starting in the third and fourth quarter, we'll have somewhere around 20 shows that'll be on that. So, there's a lot of good content, a lot of great things to watch. These guys are doing a great job putting their shows together, so we're real excited.
Now, so I watch a show and I want to learn X about whitetail hunting. What are some of the things, the content that you have that will help me become a better whitetail hunter?
Well, a lot of these shows that we have on are just your average everyday hunters. They go out and buy the camera equipment and they try hard to get the quality content and be able to, show some really good footage of deer hunting. And, in doing this, a lot of these guys are learning themselves as far as in the woods. no one, I don't believe, is ever an expert. There's always room to learn. So, watching these shows, especially the newcomers who's coming on board and filming and producing shows, it's real interesting to see kind of how they start out with their first episode and how they're hunting and how they change up their game plan by the 13th episode. And, all of them mature during the year and during the filming season and, pick up some new tricks. And they always are implementing new technologies and hunting deer. And it's pretty neat to see it all play out.
Well, I know a lot of listeners as well as myself always can learn new tricks because I've been only hunting whitetails for 50 years. And, yeah, I put a few bucks on the ground and a lot of does on the ground, but I always get schooled by that mature buck. So if somebody's looking for mature buck secrets, what do you think they'd see on the show?
Well, this last year is a perfect example of a rough season. Here in North Carolina, throughout the whole South, the weather was so warm that deer went just straight nocturnal. So you had all these people who are filming hunts who really had to put in the extra work and time. And they were really describing, in their episodes that were, they were filming in November and December, what they was having to do different to try to get, a mature whitetail in front of them. Because, when they go nocturnal like that, I mean, you have to, the whole morning and afternoon hunt, pretty much non-existent. You got to focus on midday hunt, and you got to hunt close to the bedding area because they're not moving that far away from the bedding area. And you might have a stand in the last 5 years where you always produced a nice kill, but then, this last year, with it being so warm in November and December, that stand's useless. So now you got to, even though you know your property, you got to go and figure out where you can, get on this buck at that you see at nighttime on your game camera.
Now, so you and I, we know we got 3 bucks on our hit list. And I don't care where you were hunting last year, it was a tough season because I saw a lot of, what I'm talking 2.5, 3.5-year-old bucks, but I never saw Mr. Wonderful. I never saw one of my bucks on the hit list, and I hunted 3 different farms. And we know the farm's pretty good in a couple of different states, and I'm fortunate to do that. But we had to completely reschool that, and we just went back to Google Earth and use that as a tool to figure out, okay, how close do we have to reset up to that bedding area? And we used the Google Earth to help us find that out. What kind of tools do you use or your crew use so you could, solve the puzzle if it were?
Well, I mean, technology nowadays is just unbelievable. If you have a smartphone, you go out and it's almost like you're some kind of government sniper. I mean, you can pull your phone out, you know your exact GPS location, you know which way the wind's going to be today, you got the weather, you got everything. So, using technology in that, especially when you're having to hunt on top of a bedding area, I mean, all that plays in to being successful. I mean, once you get in within, a lot of times, with this last season, you had to get within about 100 yards of a hot bedding area that, you really had to play the winds. You really had to have, all your ducks in a row to be successful in that type of situation. So, just using the technology that's out there now and the apps and that kind of stuff, I think was really important this year.
One thing you said about, the traditional morning hunt, the afternoon hunt, but you said the midday hunt. Now, why is that, especially during a rut, a good time to be in your stand?
Well, during the rut, they're going to be moving and all throughout the whole day. But normally they will, when it's warm like this, especially here in the South, they already are, genetically putting on their winter coat, they're putting on their fat, and they actually are building this body heat. So if it's going to be 80 degrees, which it was in November, which is just odd, and these deer have already got the winter coat, they got all that, well, they're going to bed up, and they're going to actually get out of the sun, they're going to get out of the heat, and they're just going to feed at night. So if they've been up all night feeding, and during the day they're going and actually getting out of the sun, getting, not don't want to overheat, and they fed all night, so they're resting. That's why you have to just hit it midday, because midday they're going to get up. There's going to be some movement, and unless you have a hot doe that's in your area, and you got some bucks pushing that doe around, it's going to be there won't be much activity, and it's going to be kind of hard pressed to get one in front of you.
One thing that I found and that we worked into our game plan last fall was water holes. Now, we're not talking about, cattle pond. We're talking about little seeps. We're talking, just small areas that either had a spring or something. And you'd be surprised how many bucks and how many does would work that during the midday. And we were hunting, in the upper Midwest. It was the high 60s, 50s. I don't think it ever got to 60s, but high 50s in November, that's pretty darn warm.
Yeah, especially in your area, yeah.
Yeah, and so do you hunt water holes at all, or how do you incorporate that in your hunt plan?
Well, here in the foothills, we got a ton of foothills, North Carolina. We got tons of small branches and creeks that, and most time, typically, that's where your bedding areas are side of, because there's most time thickety around them areas and this and that. So definitely, actually the stand that I hunted in was set like 25 yards off of a creek that was on the edge of a thicket. And that's just where I spent most of my time. And even saying that, I'll be honest with you, I still didn't get the buck that I was after, and I let some other ones walk, which I did sit down with a biologist here in North Carolina in January. And me and him, we had to come up with an interesting theory. Here in North Carolina, the season is very long. It goes from September to December, and you can hunt on Sundays now. They passed that, which is a good thing to get more people outdoors, in my opinion. But whenever the weather, done this blitz on everybody and kind of threw them off their game, there's a lot of deer that wouldn't have made it to their fourth year or fifth year or maybe even third year that would have been killed. But, with the weather changed and they, they changed their patterns, they made it. But I think, across the country next year, you're going to see a lot more trophy bucks taken just because of the weather this year. If the weather is cold next year and they pushed them out and more opportunity to take a buck. But I think it's actually going to help, people who are looking for mature deer. I think they're going to have a better season next year because this season was just so awful.
I think that's, hypothesis. I don't know if that's the right word, but, a premise. I guess I would say that premise, I think, will hold true throughout all 37 states where we have, significant whitetails, because the whole age class didn't get hunted. There's a whole 4.5, 5.5, 6.5-year-old deer were nocturnal, and they were never hunted. You might, some get killed, but not the upper age class, because you just didn't see them. And so that'd be interesting. We need to talk more about that. We should spend some time, not on this show because we don't have enough time, but let's look at doing that down the road, because I'd be interested in unpacking that. Maybe get that your biologist on the show too. That'd be a good show to do, because I think it'd raise everybody's eyebrows. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I know that. He would love to get on and talk about it. Also, he's the biologist that I've been working with for about the last 10 years or so. He had just retired. He's a professor at Wake Forest University, and he's done a lot of research here from small game to big game, and he's well diverse across all of it. He just retired a couple of years ago, and he does a lot of help with nonprofit organizations like the Wild Turkey Federation, and there's a urban archery season, and he done a lot of research on urban deer and, pretty much how unhealthy they are, to get, the city council to pass urban archery because, they just want to. A lot of them look down on it. So he would be, a great resource to bring on to have a conversation like that. And He's just my go-to guy. I go to him, I ask him a lot of questions. He tells me. I go and repeat what he says, and it makes me sound smarter. So,
I can attest to that. I haven't had an original thought in my mind. I mean, ever.
I hear that, you know, they're my buddies. I'll be around them. I'll be like, yeah, so and so. That's what's going to happen. They're like, well, how do you know? I said, just because I do. I don't ever say, hey, I got this guy that's got a 6-year degree and a professor at a, elite college telling me. I leave that part out.
I like that, Jody. That's good stuff. Hey, let's talk about fighting for outdoor heritage, why that's important to you.
Well, with me, it seems that every time you buy a hunting magazine now, or you see like all the big shows that's on the Outdoor Channel and Sports Channel, I mean, these guys are going out, they're getting great footage and all this, but the reality is the average person going out in the outdoors can't go and kill a 170 class buck or 180 class buck. So if they go out and they kill a 6-pointer or, not an 8-pointer, or if it don't meet the quality deer management standards, that kind of stuff, these people just get ridiculed on social media to the point to where, me, if I go out and I take somebody 17, 18-year-old, hunting maybe for the first time, and they shoot a 6-pointer, and I say, look, man, if you see a deer, because you're limited on your time to get these people in the woods. And if you say, if you see a buck, it's legal, I want you to kill it because you haven't killed anything yet. Well, they kill it, and they go and tell their friends, hey, I'm excited. This is, a joyous moment for me. And they, well, why didn't you let him walk? Why didn't you do this? You should have waited. You should have done that. Well, see, you may not have had an opportunity to take a deer period that whole year. So these new hunters that are coming in are the ones that are going to be buying the hunt license, the ones that will be 10, 15 years from now, the ones calling the congressman fighting for game lands and fighting for, the right to have more days to hunt, or, just across the board. And that's why I'm real passionate about fighting for the heritage of it. I'm more into getting a person in the woods and letting them experience the hunting experience and fall in love with being outdoors, and not so much, hey, you got to go and kill a trophy, and, pushing that aspect of it. I just want to get people outdoors. Because, basically, if people buy a license that keeps falling, then your congressmen are looking at this budget. They're like, well, we're not going to allocate money out of a school fund to fund this game land that's costing us this much money, so we'll make it a recreation area. So then you lose game land, and you lose, pretty much voting power, because if a bunch of hunters and hunting strong in a state, they can go out to the congressman and raise enough, cane with them that the congressman will pass legislation that favors hunters. Where if the hunter numbers are down, they're not going to care about them because, that's just, most time how that works. So that's why it's important to me to get people in the woods and not stress so much, these trophy standards, and just have them have a great time and enjoy themselves and have stories to tell their friends, and maybe they can take their friends in the woods.
Yeah, Brenda Valentine was on the show early on, and she said something, it's your hunt, it's your trophy, so if you're happy with it, it really doesn't matter what anybody else is saying, because it's your hunt. And I've been guilty of, I had to beat my buddy's buck, or I had to get the biggest buck on the farm, and yada, yada, yada. I've been there. And fortunately, as I've gotten older, I want to take a mature buck. Does that mean he's going to have the most bone on his head? It might be all jacked up, but I want to shoot a 5.5-year-old deer. And that means I might not shoot a buck every year. We typically take a couple of does on the farm. But as far as bucks, I set my own standard, and I'm happy with that. How do you think about that?
Well, it's kind of, I think me and you on the same page. I mean, like I stated earlier, I had a nice buck that was on our farm and where I was hunting, I didn't get him this year. I had small deer in front of me a lot of times, that I could have taken, but I didn't. But, I'm a seasoned hunter. So not seasoned as in I'm an expert hunter. I mean, I've just been doing it my whole life. I'm not the person that you have to worry about losing out of the fight for, the hunting heritage and the hunting rights. I'm here. So if I look at it as, if I can take somebody young or old or whatever and take them in the woods, let them experience taking a deer and that whole hunting experience. Well, 5 years from now, once they kill from four corners or whatever that they kill, 5 years from now, they're going to probably be more like, like-minded like me and you, where, hey, I personally want to get a big deer. And then they'll start letting deer walks. They'll start practicing, quality deer management. It's kind of like everybody matures in hunting. And, if you go and hunt with somebody, like last year I went on a bear hunt with a guy that was 70 years old, or 75 actually. And I was talking to him, and he said, I hadn't killed one in about 20 years. He said, I just like being out here, and we was hunting with dogs. He's like, I like hearing the dogs run. Well, me, I went because I want to kill a bear. I was excited, and here he is. He didn't care nothing about killing a bear. So I think everybody matures, through the process. But if we don't get out the people, experiencing it firsthand for the first time, then, we're going to lose a lot of our hunting opportunities and a lot of our, voting power and our voice.
Let's go spin it back to Gen 7. And one of the things you said in the warm-up and in your three questions was giving people the opportunity to be part of the outdoor industry. What does that mean to you, and what should that mean to our listeners?
Well, I've been in the outdoor industry since 1999. And, I kind of relate it back to people follow music. And there's a lot of people who play music, and there's only a few people that sign these big contracts that, go to big tour buses. And, it's just a small percentage. Well, the outdoor industry, especially in the TV and entertainment side, it's about the same way. There's only just a small handful that make it to the top. Then you have other people that, don't have anywhere else to go because there's really no other platforms out there. Either you have to go and pay $80-some thousand for airtime on the Pursuit channel, or you don't do anything. So it's hard to go from nothing to that. So when I made the Gen7Outdoors platform, the reason I made it was to give these people an opportunity that, didn't have one anywhere else, to take and go film 13 episodes, go contact sponsors, build these relationships with sponsors, bring their content to me, and then I air it nationally. Now, my reach isn't the same as a Pursuit channel. I'm all streaming. So, my stuff is, online and is through Roku, that type things. And the Pursuit channel's got a huge reach through Time Warner and Dish Network and all that. That's why they charge so much, where mine's very affordable. So I've been helping for the last year or so people who wouldn't have any chance to be on television be on television. And a couple of these people have gotten really good at what they do, and then they got some really good sponsors behind them, and that want to take them to the next level and give them the money to get on the Pursuit channel or somewhere like that. So, it's great to be a part of giving these opportunities to people to experience it firsthand, and then it's really great to be, part of someone being able to move to the upper level and being successful there.
Share with our listeners one of your lessons learned from last year. We already talked about the heat and how people had to change up the game, but what's a lesson learned that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Well, I had this whole thing in my mind that if I have an area that produces big deer, that I just need to go and just hunt that area, and the big deer is going to be there. So that's what I've done, and I'm a pretty hard-headed type person who sticks with something that I feel like will work. Well, about the 2 weeks before the season went out, I decided, you know what, I've been here for about 6 weeks now. I mean, plenty of deer signs, but they just wasn't there during the, legal hours. So I started moving around and getting on, like I say, closer to the bedding area. So there at the end, I was, hunting, like I mentioned, that creek, and I had a thicket there where if I would have hunted that, back when here, it goes bow season here, then it goes to black powder. If I would have started my black powder season in that area, I would have probably stood a really good chance of getting one. But instead, I was hunting this other area where I always kill them. I mean, it's just, I've hunted that since I was a kid, and that's where it's always been. So that was the biggest mistake I made this season.
Not to change it up.
Not to change it up, and I waited to the last minute. And it's sad to me, being a hunter, you go and you check your game camera, and you see this deer. Now, for me, a nice deer in North Carolina, if you get something around a 130, 140 deer class, buck, you're doing pretty well. So I had that, and he was at 1 o'clock in the morning or at 9:30. And I kept thinking, man, if he would just come in a little bit earlier, leave the area, or, a little bit later, or whatever, you would be there. But, man, it just never happened.
Jody, it's hard to believe, but we're burning daylight, as we say out here in the Rockies, and the show's almost up. So I'm just going to give you another shot at telling the listeners how to get a hold of you, how to watch your show, and give a shout out to your sponsors. So you get about a minute or so to compact all that in, and then we're going to call it a show.
Well, I'd just like to thank you for having me on. I think you're doing a great job what you're doing, and I've been following you since you started, and I'm really impressed at how far you got and the diversity that you added to what you're doing. So, congratulations there.
Thank you.
Yeah, as far as me, the Gen 7 TV network, I hope people that listen to the show come over to our website and watch it. Everything there is free. Now, I do produce TV shows myself. One of the ones I produce is NC Outdoors, and we do have, some great sponsors there, like Buckhorn Outdoors, which makes some really great deer stands. We got NutriPlot. They have an awesome, I think you actually interviewed the guy that has the NutriPlot fertilizer. It goes on the food plots. It's a deer attractant. It works great. Then, I use a new scent elimination odor, or a scent elimination product that is called Pure One Outdoors Exile Odor. And that stuff is really awesome. I got an email that they're coming out with some new products for this year, so I'm excited to use that and promote that for them. So, I've got, really good sponsors that helps me with NC Outdoors and the Gen 7 Outdoors. I'm working with a lot of producers and a lot of different businesses, and that's going to really grow, and it'll be, I think, a huge impact on the industry in the next year or two, and I'm really excited about the direction that's going in.
Jody Blackwelder, thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to connecting again and having you on your show in 6 months or so, and keeping our discussion going. And we're running out of time here, but sir, thank you so much for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous.
Hey, thank you, and I think your podcast needs to be on Gen 7 Outdoors also, so keep that in mind.
As your host at Whitetail Rendezvous, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your time with us today. I look forward to sharing with you